Torah guardian, speaking the absolute truth. Torah nation.
Shalom, 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 Yahshua, Yahudah. Actually, it could be Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom. Sundown Friday to sundown Saturday. Listen, we're listening to none other than Hezekiah. The song is entitled Only a Remnant. Do it for the nation. I don't own the rights to this music. Yahuah has called me to wake up Yaakov and Yahudah. You must receive the witness of Yahusha HaMashiach. You must receive the witness of the Ruach HaKodesh. You must be established in the Ruach, the water, and the blood. Right? These three are one. Right? You must receive the witness of Yahuah and the Shamayim, the Word, Yahusha HaMashiach, made flesh, and the Ruach HaKodesh. You must receive the witnesses. Listen. There is no Yeshua without Yahusha. There is no salvation. There is nothing that is going to get you into the kingdom of Yahuah, Elohiym, other than Yahusha Mashiach. Yahuah, I give you praise right now for your word. Yahuah, I give you for the word. Give you praise for the word that you've given to me to give to them. I give you praise for your Basor, your Torah of truth, your Torah made flesh, Yahusha HaMashiach, that was in the beginning with you. All things were made by him. Yahuah, I give you praise for Yahusha HaMashiach. And that word, that Basor, that Torah became flesh, Yahusha HaMashiach. Yahuah, I give you praise. Yahuah, the word that you gave to Yahusha, he gave to Yahukanan. Yahukanan recorded it, and it's here for me to behold, and I've received it. Yahuah and Emunah, I've been made alive by this word. It quickened me, it made me alive, and I give you praise. I've received the witness, the water, and the blood. You gifted me with the Ruach HaKodesh. Yahuah, these three agree and witness in the Eretz. Yahuah, I give you praise. I give you praise for gifting me the Ruach HaKodesh from the Shamayim. You and Yahusha, these three are one. They live in me. Yahusha declared it himself. Me and the Father will come in and make our abode with you. I give you praise. Yahuah, take the reins of my lips and the reins of my tongue and reign. Yahuah, have the preeminence. Take control over this in the name of Yahusha Mashiach. Yahuah, you increase by your Ruach. Decrease in me. Yahuah, decrease in me. You increase in the Ruach HaKodesh. Yahuah, in the name of Yahusha HaMashiach, I pray. I pray in the name of Yahusha HaMashiach. Yahuah, let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in thy sight. And Yahuah, don't allow me to cause anyone to be turned out of the way. Anyone to come up lame. Anyone to stumble. Yahuah, I don't want it. I want to be a blessing. I want to wake up Yaakov and Yahudah. I want to establish the Gentiles that you have chosen, that you have called, that you have received. Yahuah, I want to establish them in this witness. Yahuah, I know this is for those who have an ear to hear. Yahuah, I know this is for those who you have chosen. I pray that word will go forth in the name of Yahusha Mashiach, I pray. Man of Yah, woman of Yah, again, listen, we're listening to Hezekiah. He's doing it for the nation. Only a remnant, only a remnant, only a remnant. It's for the nation. Only a remnant. Only a remnant. Listen. Man of Yah, woman of Yah, it brings me joy and pleasure to be able to declare the word of Yahuah to you. And listen, I don't do this by constraint, right? I'm not constrained in the sense that, he's twisting my arm to get the word out. No, not at all. Listen, this is my joy. This is my peace. This is my pleasure in the day. This is the point of the day that I look forward to. right? To begin to be in a position to where I can deliver Yahuwah's Torah, his Besorah to you. This is what I live for. This is what I live for. This is what I live for. And you know what? I want to take the time to, in Yahuwah's Ruach, to thank all those who continue to support me, right? Right? Because in doing so, you support the Ruach HaKodesh's work, right? Because see, listen. This is not about me, right? I ain't doing this because of me. It's just not something that I'm striking out on my own to make it come to pass. This is Yahuwah's moving me and driving me. You know, sometimes, you know, listen, I deliver a word, I give a message, and, you know, I don't, like I said, I told you, I don't listen to it that day. I don't listen to it to the next morning, right? I go to bed. You know, I do it in the afternoon. I do it early in the afternoon. It takes a while to upload, but I do it like normally around 11:30. I begin, right? But, you know, I do it, and, you know, and then it takes time to upload, and then once it uploads, it's there. But you know what? I don't listen to it the next day. And when I listen to it, I'm like, wow. I'm like, yeah, what? Yes, Yahuah. Because, you know, listen. It's the Ruach HaKodesh in me that gets this out. This is the Ruach HaKodesh that declares this word. And you know what? That's why in the name of Yahusha Mashiach, I ask, I entreat, I want him to take the reins of my lips and the reins of my tongue. I want him to say what he wants to say and not what I want to say. Right? When I open up this Besorah and this Torah, when he tells me I want you to go into Hebrews and work your way through, listen, that's exactly what I do, right? And listen, I trust in the Ruach HaKodesh, right? And I do it because that's what he's called me to do. But I want you to know I'm grateful to those who are in this awakening, who have subscribed, but who are in this awakening, right? This quickening, and has received this witness and let me know. Hey, look, I appreciate what you said. Man, that was life. Look. I don't do it for that. But I want you to know I appreciate it. Because Yahuwah continues to affirm and reaffirm his word in me, right? He does that. He does that. Every time I take a listen, I know it's him, right? And because I know me, I know it's him. And see, I have no desire to do anything that would cast shade on Yahuwah. I don't want to bring negative reproach on Yahuwah. No. I want to bring glory and honor to his name. So listen, man, if y'all want me, I just want to take time to say that. Now, having said that, we going in. Now, we are in Hebrews, right? And you know we're in Hebrews talking to Hebrews, right? We're talking to them, that people, right, that is stiff-necked and stubborn, right? We're talking to the people that Yahuwah said that to Moshe. Listen, when he told Moshe and the what was that? Where were we at? In Deuteronomy 31, he said, listen. He said, Yahuwah said unto Moshe, behold, thou shalt sleep with thy father, and this people will rise up. They're going to rise up, and they're going to go a-whoring, right? After the elves of the strangers of the lands, right? Yeah. You know, we did that. You know, we went in and we accepted the elves of the land, Jesus and the Lord, you know, not Yahusha and Yahuwah, right? Because they're different. I mean, Catholicism and Christianity's motivation is not Yahuwah and Yahusha, right? It's just a different entity, right? It's a different spirit. It's the spirit of the beast. Now, listen, you may not accept that, you may not agree with that, but that's okay, because, you know, this word is for those who have an ear to hear, and Yahuwah has called and chosen, right? And so, if you don't gravitate to it, it's okay. Listen, you know, you don't have to listen to it. You don't listen to it. But if you keep bringing you to me to listen to me, trying to get you to wake up, right? But these people is going to go, right? They're literally going to go a-whoring after other elves of the strangers of the lands whither they go to be among them, right? And will forsake me and break my covenant, and I which I have made with them. Listen. This is what's happened, right? This is what's happening even to this day, right? Now, we who have received the witnesses got to get this word out, right? We got to get the message out. Listen. Again, this is not the awakening return, right? In the sense that, we're awakened, right? We know who we are. We're going to return to the land. It's bigger than that. The awakening is the establishing of who you were as a people in order to get you to receive the witness and be quickened, right? And be gathered, right? Because the gathering is going to occur with those who have received the witness of Yahusha HaMashiach, right? So listen, you might want to take a listen to the video that I did in reference to the gathering the witness and the gathering versus the awakening and the return, right? The return and the awakening are beautiful things and they're essential, but in and of themselves, they're incomplete. You have to be established in the witness, and you have to receive the Ruach HaKodesh in order to be gathered. It'd be a shame to know who you are, right? You Hebrew, right? And you return to the motherland or the land of Eden, right? You go back to the land of Eden, right? And having received the witness of Yahushua Mashiach and not gathered. Right? I mean, listen, we are in the lands that are scattered all over the world. We are even in Africa, the tribes, right? But if they haven't received the quickening of the witness of Yahushua Mashiach, listen, they ain't going to be gathered. Listen, Yahuah is establishing his people. Listen, it's inevitable. We going back to Jerusalem, right? We're going back, right? It's just inevitable. It's going to happen. We're going back to the land. We're going back to Africa. It's inevitable, right? For those who have received the witness, right? Those who are going to be gathered, we're going back to the land, right? Now for us, who may be able to go to the land, right? Before then, right? And establish ourselves, it's a beautiful thing, right? But you must have the witness of the Ruach HaKodesh. You want to have the witness of the Ruach HaKodesh, right? So it's not just enough to know who you are, right? Because our forefathers knew who they were, right? They knew they were a people that was called out by Yahuah. They knew it, right? They knew that Yahuah had blessed them, brought them out of Mitsrayim, took them through the wilderness, fed them, gave them water, right? Yahuah, right? They murmured and complained. 40 years, generation died out. Yahuah says, okay, now they're ready. Yahshua circumcised everybody in the camp. Right? Yahuah gave the commandment of circumcision before they left Egypt. I think he did before he left Egypt. At any rate, they had the commandment of circumcision through Abraham. Right? They left Egypt. Right? Fell in the wilderness. A chosen people. Died. And didn't receive the promise. Didn't enter into the rest. Complained the whole time they were footing it through. Didn't have to take 40 years. Didn't have to take 40 years. But they didn't have no emunah. All they did was complain and murmured. In spite of what they visibly seen Yahuah do. What? They murmured and complained. They didn't have to take 40 years for them to cross over. All they had to do was see the witness of Yahushua Mashiach. Obey his commandments. Listen to Moshe. They complained and murmured and complained and murmured the whole time. Stiff-necked, hard-headed people. Right? Think they know everything. Right? As a result, they died in the wilderness. Didn't have to be that way. But Yahuah knew it was going to be that way. That's why Yahuah, in his sovereignty, right? Yahuah, Yahushua, the Ruach HaKodesh, right? They knew at the foundations of the earth that there was going to be an established kingdom. And in spite of the rebellion of Yahuah and Adam having surrendered the kingdom over to Hasatan, they knew that Yahusha was going to have to come. They knew that the scepter would not depart from Yahudah, nor a lawgiver from between his feet until Yahusha come. They knew this. This is documented. This is in Genesis. This is in the volume of the book, right? This is the sevenfold doctrine of creation, right? Listen. This is in the volume of the book. Hebrew. This message is for you. Your forefathers rebelled. They rebelled. And it's not until they received the witness of Yahushua Mashiach that Yahuwah turned it. And even then, they didn't receive it. But as many as did receive it, to them he gave power to be sons of Elohiym, to be in his kingdom. To be subjects in his future kingdom. That was going to be on the Eretz. Listen, not in heaven. No, Yahuwah's plan has always been to establish his kingdom on the earth. Right? His dominion in the earth. Right. So, he knew that they would break his covenant. He knew our people would break his covenant. He knew it. In Deuteronomy. He knew it. Yahuwah is sovereign. He knew it. He's sovereign. See, Yahuwah let it play out because that's just who he is, Yahuwah Elohiym. He can do whatever he wants to do. He's the El that's more than enough. He's El Shaddai. Listen. He says, and my anger shall be kindled against them in that day, and I will forsake them, and I will hide my face from them. That's what he did. He forsook us. He hid his face from us. Right? And I will hide my face from them, and they shall be devoured, and many evils and troubles shall befall them. Listen, this is what happened to us, right? And listen, what Yahuwah spoke in reference to the nation, right? In Deuteronomy 28, he's referencing here in Deuteronomy 31. In Deuteronomy 38, look, in Deuteronomy 38, or Deuteronomy 28, 68, right? He says, let's go to 65. No, let's go to 64. And Yahuwah will scatter you among all the people. Yahuwah shall scatter thee among all the people. Come on, we understand this is bruised, right? So we know who we are now. We know we're the people, right? Yeah, we know we're the people now, right? Right? He says, and Yahuwah will scatter you among the people, all the people, from one end of the earth even unto the other. So you can return and go back to Africa, right? Having been awakened, right? Mourning what your ancestors went through, right? Because most Hebrews that are awakened, I like to return to the land, are returning because they're mourning what their ancestors went through. Right? Instead of accepting it as a result of the consequences of their sin, and understanding that in order to return, you must receive the witness of Yahushua HaMashiach and be established in him. Right? The idea is that I'm awakened. Now I understand. These are my people. Right? Deuteronomy 28, yes, I understand. We're the people. Right? We suffered. And even some of the people that are in the awakening don't understand that so much as that they're the people, the Hebrews, but they were just the people that were taken from the land of Africa. They are your ancestors. Right? And that's why you got to understand that, you get twisted up in the whole ancestral spirits ancestral ruachs. Oh, I'm going back to the land so that I can connect with my ancestral ruachs. What? You go back to the land to establish yourself in the land that Yahuah has established as his own, right? And with the Ruach HaKodesh, there's a kindred that comes with knowing, right? Not knowing your ancestors, but having the Ruach HaKodesh to lead you and guide you into a kingdom and into a land that Yahuah has chosen for you. Listen, right? He says, I will scatter you among the people, and from one end of the earth to the other, and thou shalt serve other elves, which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, stone and wood, right? Yeah, we got over to the continent, right? Right? In Islam, they came over with that Kabbalah. The Muslims, they came over worshiping Allah. Listen. And then you had the Christians, right, who took our Basora and our Torah, right, and established Christianity and went forth and conquered in the name of Jesus, right? Right? Wicked. And all they did was morph. It morphed. It adjusted with the times. Still the same, right? Good stone and wood crosses. Listen, and among these nations you'll find no ease. No ease. No matter how much you fight for your civil rights, no ease. Nope. They gonna trade slavery for prisons. Yeah. They gonna trade slave labor for prison labor. Yeah. They gonna still make money off of you by incarcerating you. Yeah. And they're gonna even get even more skillful and crafty because they're gonna develop these games similar to what the Grecians did, the Hebrews, right, that became Greek and not Greeks. They were Greekanized, right? And they adopted the games and the arena and the whole celebrations of athletes and athletic achievement, right? They gonna give you gods, right? They took you, right? And then they made money off you that way. Right. Then they were smart about it because they know they can give you hundreds of thousands, and then eventually give you millions. But by then they'd have made billions and trillions. Right, but you made it. You and your family, and your boys, your entourage. Yeah, at what cost? Serving other else. Listen. You'll find no ease, neither the soul of thee shall find rest. You ain't gonna find no rest, right? But see, in Yahushua Mashiach's witness, right? He promises rest. He will establish. Excuse me. You will be established in his rest. Right? But no. You're in the land of your captivity. But you don't have to be captive anymore. Actually, the time frame for that has ceased. You can still remain captive in your mind. You can be convinced and driven in your mind to hold on to this captivity, right? Right? This awakening is giving you the knowledge of who you are, which by design is freeing you from the lies that you've been told. But now, in order to receive Yeshua, you have to receive Yahushua Mashiach's witness. Okay, Hebrew, let's go on. He says he gonna He says, you won't be fine rest. And Yahuah shall give you a trembling heart and a failing of eyes and sorrow of mind. Come on, y'all. That's the plight of the black man. That's the plight of the black woman, the black child. Right? It's what we've been through. Hebrew. It's what we've been through. It's what we've experienced. Right? 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 Let's jump down to 68. And Yahuah shall bring thee into Mitsrayim again on ships, with ships. Come on, that's transatlantic slave trade. It's transatlantic slave trade. So you know, everybody knows that we now have come over to the Americas on slave ships. The transatlantic slave ships, right? That were owned by Ashkenazis. The good ship Jesus brought us over from the land to be sold as slaves in the Americas. This same good ship Jesus, right? This same Christianity, right? That enslaved us. Listen. By the way, whereof I spake unto thee, thou shalt see it again no more. Now listen, this has happened because we're stiff-necked and stubborn, right? Stiff-necked and stubborn, right? Right? But yet Yahuah still cares enough for us to correct it, right? Because now we jacked up. We don't have a method of return to him. The only method of return we have to him is Yahusha Mashiach. Right? Because the whole idea is, if my people which are called by my name would humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then I shall hear from heaven, right? Right? I hear from the Shamaim, I hear from heaven, I'll forgive their sins and heal their land. That process required a return through repentance, right? 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 Coming before Yahusha, coming for Yahuah, ceremonially clean with a sacrifice to be offered up for the people's sin. He told that Solomon. Solomon prayed. He said, Yahuah, you said if our people, you said Yahuah, if we do this and we turn that, if we don't. That's Chronicles. Let me see. Oh, no, that's not what I want to do. That's not what I want to do. That's not what I want to do. Oh, yeah, I know what to do. Let's go here. See if this is this. Let me see if this is what I want. No, that's not what I want. That's not what I want. Where is it, Kings? I know I found it. Ooh, where we going? Okay, yeah. Second Chronicles. All right, so Second Chronicles, right? So when we get to Second Chronicles, what we have here is Shlomo's his dedication and his offering of a sacrifice, and actually, I think we might have to go to the 6th chapter, right? The 6th chapter deals with Shlomo's prayer and dedication, right? And how Shlomo prayed and asked Yahuah, right? He says, he asked Yahuah if, he says, let me just read something. He says, 2 Chronicles 6 and 12. He says, and he stood before the altar of Yahuah in the presence of the congregation of Yahusha and spread forth his hands, and so made a brazen, right? And said, in verse 14, and said, O Yahuah Elohiym of Yasharal, if there is no God like unto you in the Shamayim and the rich, would keepeth covenant. Because Yahuah keepeth covenant, right? And showeth mercies unto his servants that walk before him with all their hearts. So when you walk before Yahuah with all your heart, right, Yahuah shows mercy upon you. He says, thou which hast kept with thy servant David, my father, that which you have promised. So Yahuah has promised that, that he would allow Shlomo to, build a temple, right? Right? He says, and spake with thy mouth, and hast fulfilled it with thine hands, as it is this day. Now therefore, O Yahuah Elohiym of Yasharal, keep with thy David servant thy father, which thou hast promised, that there shall not fail thee a man in my sight to sit upon the throne of Yasharal. So he said, there should not a man fail that shall sit upon the throne of Yasharal, yet so that thy children take heed to their walk. Yet so that thy children take heed to their way to walk in your Torah and keep it. So anyway, what Shlomo does is Shlomo begins to pray, and he begins to pray, and then he asks Yahuah, he says, listen, Yahuah, if your people sin, let me see. He says, let's go to 36. If they sin against thee, and there is no man which sinneth not, and thou be angry with them, and deliver them over to the hands of their enemies, right? Hands of their enemies, which we were, right? And they carry them away captive into a land far off or near, right? Yet if they bethink themselves, if they come to themselves, in the land whither they have been carried captive, and turn and pray unto thee in the land of their captivity, saying, we have sinned, and we have done and amiss, and have dealt wickedly, right? If they return unto thee with their hearts, and with all their souls in the lands of their captivity, whither thou hast carried them captive, and pray towards the land which thou hast given them, and towards the city thou hast chosen, and towards the house which thou hast built in thy name, right? And then hear from the Shemi. And so which would say that's what the expectation is, right? So if this is what we do, right? If we turn, right? Now listen, right? Even Shlomo understood that in the lands of captivity, if they're turned, they needed to turn toward Jerusalem, right? And repent, right? Because, the repentance has to accompany a sacrifice. There has to be blood. There has to be a blood sacrifice, right? He says, now, then hear from the Shamayim, even in the dwelling place, in prayer of the supplication, and maintain their cause, and forgive your people, which they have sinned against thee. And that's what he did, right? Listen. He did that after the first captivity, right? He did that after the first captivity. And the people had to do what? They had to sacrifice. They had to establish the priesthood. He had to find the priest. And then they had to establish the sacrifice. Right? They had to separate the priest. They made the priest who had married a bunch of pagan women and had kids, they had to let them go. And they had to return to Yahuah, to the service that Yahuah called them, because they weren't supposed to defile themselves with the other nations. They had to return in order to be established in the priesthood again. And then they had to offer sacrifices on behalf of the people for the wrong. Listen. Shlomo says, right? Let's just jump back. Just jump over to the 7th verse, right? 7th chapter, right? 7th chapter. Let's jump over this. He says, right? He says, in that 7th chapter and 12th verse, and Yahuah appeared unto Shlomo by night, because Yahuah appeared to Shlomo and answered his prayer, spoke to him specifically. He appeared before Shlomo by night and said unto him, I have heard thy prayers and have chosen this place for myself for a house of sacrifice. Right? If I shut up the heaven and there be no rain, or if I command the locusts to devour the land, or if the pestilence among my people, if my people which are called by my name shall humble themselves and pray, and seek my face, and turn from their wicked ways, then shall I hear from the heavens, and I will forgive their sins and heal their lands. Now my eyes shall be open unto them in their ears. Right? Right? And now I have chosen to sanctify. Listen. You had to offer. Listen. There has to be a sacrifice. There has to be bloodshed. There has to be a sacrifice for sin. There has to be a sacrifice for sin. Yahuah ain't gonna just turn and say, "Oh, okay, yeah," because he would have done that before. Listen, in the turning, in this captivity, right? There has to be a sacrifice. And Yahusha is the only sacrifice. And that's good for you. Because all you have to do is receive the witness of Yahushua Mashiach. And the sacrifice of the blood, right? You got to be washed ceremonially, because they had to wash before they appeared before Yahuah. Before they brought their offering. This was protocol. It's a procedure. So you got to wash. Then you got to accept the blood. You have to have an offering. But you have to receive the witness of the Ruach HaKodesh. Right? Which is going to establish you in Yahuwah's kingdom forever. If you keep and maintain and don't let it slip. Listen. Yahuah is going to deliver his people. Right? But there has to be a sacrifice. In order for Yahuah to restore his people, he had to have Yahusha after the order of Melchizedek. Melchizedek was a king and a priest. Jacob said it. The scepter shall not depart from Yehudah, or a lawgiver from between his feet, until Yahusha comes. That which brings peace. That which brings rest. Yahusha. Hebrews. The 6th chapter. Right? Everything that's in the Torah is about us. We have a record of what was done, a historical record of what's done. But see, it's don't get it twisted. It's more than just history. It's an anointed work. It is a Ruachal inspired work. Right? It is alive. Listen. So we understand that we're not supposed to let these things slip. Right? Right? We need to understand and recognize that Yahuah has been talking to us every time we've read this collection of works. Right? He's been talking to us, right? Right? Some of it we would not discern without the Ruach HaKodesh. Without the Spirit of Truth. Because it's line upon line, it's precept upon precept, it's Ruachal. The Ruach HaKodesh is going to lead you into places. It's going to guide you in this Torah, this Masorah. He spoke to you times past to the prophets. By the prophets to our fathers. And he has spoken to us in these last days by his son Yahusha Mashiach. In order to turn to him. Not just the awakening and not the return, but to turn. Because you have to turn. Not to the motherlands and to the spirits of the ancestors, but to Yahusha Mashiach and his witness. Listen, that's Yahuwah's land. Yahuwah's land is filled with energy. Yahuah is energy. Right? Right, Yahuah. Yahuah is nuclear. Yahuah is filled with energy. Right? There is an energy that's attached to the land that Yahuah has described as his own. The land that he gave to Adam and Eva. The land that he told them to subdue, to be fruitful and multiply, to establish a kingdom in the earth, to have dominion and take the kibosh, put the kibosh down, right? To rule, right? Listen, Yahuwah's land is a powerful place, but it's powerful to those who are established in the witness. It's powerful to those who are established in the witness. It's not just powerful because we can return to the land with our earthly resources and build businesses. It's not establishing a power through natural means. Establishing Yahuwah's kingdom. You don't care about that stuff. Yahuwah has control over all that stuff. So the return is more than just the awakening, and the return is more than just this act of an emotional attachment to the spirits of your ancestors because they suffered on ships and suffered in the Americas. We suffered because we were disobedient, because we didn't take heed to Yahuwah's word. We don't obey his Torah. We didn't keep his commandments. And if we turn, we have to accept Yahusha Mashiach, who's made the restoration, the return, the awakening, the gathering, right? He's made that possible, the quickening, right? So, it says in that second verse, in these last days, Hebrews 1 and 2, has in these last days spoken unto us by his Son, whom he hath appointed heir over all things. He's heir over all Africa. He's heir over all the continent. Right. Heir over all the continent. That's why Mitsrayim is going to be. That's why Egypt. There are nations that are going to be attached to Africa, that are going to experience super favor. Okay. So we know that Yahusha is whom Yahuah is spoken through, right? Right? Chapter 2, right? And because of this, we know that we need to give the more earnest heed, right? To understanding who Yahusha was, how he was greater than the angels, right? How he was foretold in the volume of the book. We need to give heed to that, right? We need to consider what Yahusha went through, right? We need to consider what he's done, right? 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 We need to understand that Yahusha, right, was made a little lower than the angels for you. Right? We need to understand that Yahuah had to present a sacrifice that would satisfy for all times. Because he knew you was going to be in this predicament. You would need to return. You would need a high priest. You would need to be washed. You would need to have a sacrifice. You would need to have a sacrifice that was worthy of what Yahuah would require in order to have the sins of the nations covered. Do you know how many bulls and goats, how many lambs were sacrificed at the establishment of the temple by Shlomo? And the temple was a place for Yahuah to receive sacrifices. It was a place, that Yahuah said he is provided for sacrifices. How many? 5 sins. Every man had to bring his own. Listen. Hebrew. How you going to turn to Yahuah? If but by Yahusha. How? How you going to physically? How you going to turn to Yahuah? Right? He's been made the captain of your Yeshua. And he's going to be the only way that you get to the kingdom. You can get over to the land, or you can stay in the lands of America, or all the lands that you're scattered in, right? Without having received the witness. Not be gathered. Not be a part of the kingdom of Yahuah. See, listen, I just don't want to be in a land. I want to be in the land that Yahuah has established for his people. I want to be in the kingdom. I want to be in the kingdom. Let's go. Therefore, brother, partaker of the heavenly calling, consider Yahusha Hamashiach the high priest. Scepter shall not depart from Yahuah, or a lawgiver from between his feet until Shiloh come, and unto him will the gathering of the people be. Yahusha, the priest, gathering, right? See, he was faithful, just like Moshe was faithful, right? Just like Moshe was faithful, right? Faithful priest, offering up his blood on the altar of the Shamayim. Yahusha, right? Listen, let us fear, right? Chapter 4, verse 1. Let us therefore fear, lest the promise being left of entering into the rest. The scepter. The scepter shall not depart from Yahudah, or lawgiver from between his feet to Shiloh. Rest. Come. That which brings rest comes. Yahusha. Yahusha is that sacrifice that's going to establish you, right? Having received the witness, the water, the blood, and the Ruach HaKodesh in this kingdom, that's going to bring you eternal rest. Eternal rest. The kingdom. Eternal rest. Let us therefore fear. In the Ruach HaKodesh, you have received the Ruach of fear. You receive the Ruach of Yahuah, Ruach of wisdom, understanding, Ruach of counsel, might, Ruach of knowledge, and the fear of Yahuah. Somebody say, you ain't getting no fear in the Ruach of Yahuah, the Ruach of wisdom and understanding, the Ruach of counsel and of might, the Ruach of knowledge and the fear. The Ruach of fear of Yahuah, right? Not that, I'm afraid, I'm scared. No, it's the Ruach of reverence, knowing that Yahuah has all power to do whatever he needs to do in you. And if he chooses to eliminate you, he can. We need the reverence, right? That a promise being made of entering into his rest, right? We should seem to fall short. Come up short, right? For unto us the Besorah was preached. Now Paul is referencing those who are Hebrews that have received the witness, right? Who have been constantly bombarded by the Yahudim that tries to come in and undermine them. Yeah, that Paul, you can't believe that. You need to keep the Torah, and, Yahusha Mashiach. No. That's that thing that he was constantly being confronted with the Yahudim. Right? The Yahudim was constantly trying to undermine Paul, saying that, Yahusha Mashiach. No, there's no salvation in Yahushua Mashiach. Same thing to Hebrew, that same Ruach that motivated them is the same Ruach that motivates y'all. Same Ruach running around trying to undermine the message. The same Ruach. Same Ruach. Same Ruach that was undermining the apostles in Jerusalem. Same Ruach. Hasatan, same Ruach. He says, for unto us was the Besorah preached, as well as unto them. But the word preached did not profit them, because it was not mixed with emunah, them that heard it. Right? They didn't receive the witness. Right? Our forefathers died in the wilderness because they didn't receive the witness. They complained. They complained. They complained. They complained. They complained. They didn't have faith. They complained. Right? They didn't enter into the rest. Right? Hebrew. You ain't going to enter into the rest either. Right? Now here Yahuah goes as far as to have a priest, right? Right? An offering and a priest to go before you in your behalf to establish you in this process of turning. If my people which are called by my name would humble themselves and pray, seek my face, and turn. Right? He's provided you a process of turning. Right? Yahusha Mashiach. The priest forever. After the order of Melchizedek. He is king and priest of the tribe of Yahudah. Melchizedek. This Yahusha. Hamashiach. He is giving you a method of returning. Not this mental assent to, I know we the people. We the people of the book. Yeah, that's the term. It's we the people of the book. Yeah, okay. So, having read the book, right, and understanding what your people did, right, now what do you need to do to correct it in order not to repeat the continual missteps, right, of your ancestors, right? You have to receive the witness of Yahusha Mashiach. Because he is the high priest that's going to get you through the process of turning, having received his witness. He says, every man is taken from among men, is ordained for man, is pertaining to Yahuah, but he may offer both gifts and sacrifices for sins. So listen, the high priest is chosen by Yahuah. Yahusha didn't choose to be a high priest. Yahuah chose Yahusha. Aaron didn't choose to be a high priest. Yahuah chose Aaron. Right? So, in order to turn, you have to have a high priest to offer up a sacrifice. And if it's the nation, yeah, it got to be a whole bunch coming. Because we got a whole bunch of sin. Right? Right? You literally got to be in Jerusalem. Right? Because that's where the sacrifices are offered. Right? In the land. Right? Where he has established it. But you can't even do that. So how are you going to establish yourself as Yahuwah's people? How are you going to establish yourself as Yahuwah's people, worthy of Yahuwah's kingdom? Yahusha Mashiach. Because Yahusha Mashiach is that priest after the order of Melchizedek, right? He's that king of Salem. He's that king of Jerusalem. He's that king of peace. Yahusha. A king, a priest forever after the order of Melchizedek. Melchizedek was king and priest of Yahuah. Yahusha is the king and priest. He's the king of the tribe of the line of the tribe of Yahudah. How can you not claim your king? The scepter shall not depart from Yahudah, or a lawgiver from between his feet unto Shiloh. Yahusha. Him who brings rest. Him who brings peace and prosperity. Yahusha. David is dead. Shlomo is dead. And there has not been a king since then. And Yahusha's kingdom is going to pale in comparison. And those who have received his witness are going to be those who participate in his kingdom. So you have a high priest, Yahusha, right? A priest forever. Yahuwah said it. In the 110th division of Psalms. When Dawid said, and Yahuwah said unto Yahusha, sit thou on my right hand until I make thy enemy thy footstool. Right? And then shall send the rod, Yahusha, of thy strength. Right? Out of Zion. Oh yeah, Yahusha's coming. Right? Out of Zion. Right? Out of the nation of Yasharal. He'll rule thou in the midst of thine enemies. He's going to rule in the midst of his enemies. Thy people shall be willing in the days of thy power. Yeah, because you know why? Because we don't have received the witness of Yahushua Mashiach on the inside of us. We have demonstrated unto the end that we can keep his Torah. That we can keep his Torah, his commandments, because we love him. That's why you can't say you love Yahuwah and you continue to sin. You lie. You don't tell the truth. You can't continue to lust. Walk around and lust about, I love you, I love you, I love you. No, you don't. Because if you love him, you'll keep his commandments. Now, if you don't have the Ruach HaKodesh, okay, I understand the miscoming. But now you got to receive the Ruach HaKodesh. You got to position yourself to receive the Ruach HaKodesh. Once you receive the Ruach HaKodesh, you have everything you need to get the job done. You don't have to sin. And if you continue to choose to sin, guess what? That's a willful act of disobedience. You separate yourself from the Ruach HaKodesh and Yahuwah and Yahusha. They do not dwell in temples that are unclean. He says, thy people shall be willing in the days of thy power, because they receive the Ruach HaKodesh. They abide in the witness. He says, in the beauty of holiness, Kodeshness. In the beauty of Kodeshness from the womb of the morning, and the beauty of set apartness. Ruach HaKodeshness. Excuse me. Thou hast the dew of thy youth, Yahuah have sworn and will not repent. Concerning Yahusha. He says, listen, thou art a priest forever after the order of Melchizedek. Only Yahusha is a priest forever. Only Yahusha is a priest forever after the order of Melchizedek. Yahusha is king and priest. Now we are established as kings. We're established as kings and priests under Yahusha, but not Melchizedek. We follow Yahusha's orders as priests. He says, listen, verse 5 of the 110th division of Psalms. And Adonai at thy right hand shall strike through kings in the days of wrath. He shall judge among the heathens. He shall fill the place with dead bodies. He shall wound the heads of many countries. Wound the heads of many countries. Hebrews 6. Hebrews 6. Therefore, leaving the principles of the doctrines of Mashiach, it's time, Hebrews, to accept the reality of it is reckoning time. It's time for you to accept the witness of Yahushua Mashiach. It's time for you to accept the fact that, listen, you ain't got what it takes to establish yourself in this relationship with you. Right? And turning, just recognizing that you are the people and turning to the Torah, right? The Torah and the Tanakh and every other. Listen, it ain't enough. Got to receive the witness of Yahushua Mashiach. He's in the volume of the book, whether you want to receive it or not. But it's time. Right? Right? It's time. Right? It's time. And even us who have received the witness of Yahushua Mashiach, it's time for us to step up the game. Right? To get out and begin to deliver the witness of Yahushua Mashiach. And not only just the witness of Yahushua Mashiach, but again, be equipped and available to do the work. Listen, leaving the principles of the doctrine of Christ. What is the principles of the doctrine of Mashiach? Right? Leaving the principles of the doctrine of the Mashiach, the son of Elohiym. Right? The principle doctrine. Right? Understanding that, listen, he's a priest. Right? He was in the book, the volume of the book. That's principle. That Yahuah sent his son. Right? That he was a little lower than the angels. Principle things. Crowned with glory and honor, principle things. Got to go on to perfection. Not laying again the foundations of repentance from dead works and of faith towards the Mashiach. Look. Stop playing games with Yahuah. Stop playing games with Yahuah. Get established in the witness. Get established in the witness of Yahushua Mashiach. Get established in the Ruach HaKodesh. Start dedicating your life to the witness of Yahushua Mashiach and stop playing games. You ain't reading, you ain't fasting, you ain't praying, you ain't seeking his faith, you ain't turning your plate down, you ain't doing nothing, right? But arguing, right? No dedication. Constantly repenting. Constantly repenting from dead works. Right? Right? Constantly for dead works. And of faith in Hamashiach towards the Lord. Right? Of the doctrines of baptism and the laying out of hands and the resurrection of the dead and of eternal judgment. Listen, the doctrine of baptism is what it is. It's what they did. I don't understand why there's confusion around baptism. Oh, some say you got to sprinkle water on them because Yahushua said in the original covenant he will sprinkle clean water on them. Right. But Yahushua went into the water. He was baptized, went under the water. Right. Listen, follow the example. Right, what? You get hung up on baptism, right? Oh well, do we get established before we get baptized or after we get baptized? Look, what difference does it make? Get baptized, right? And the laying out of hands. Listen. The laying out of hands should be something done by those who have the Ruach HaKodesh, because they're gonna be led by the Ruach HaKodesh to know when to lay hands on people, right? Right? The doctrine of laying out of hands. What do you mean? Yeah, we lay hands on people. Yes. We pray for people. We lay hands on people. Right? But we don't get caught up in that. We recognize that's the way that Yahuwah transmits, releases an anointing. The Ruach HaKodesh. Paul laid his hands on them after he baptized them. The 12 that were baptized in Yahuwah. Paul asked me to receive the Ruach. Oh, we ain't heard about the Ruach. When Paul said, well, listen, let me baptize you again in the name of Yahushua HaMashiach for the mission of your sins. And then I'm going to lay hands on you and so you to receive the Ruach HaKodesh. It's a method in which Yahuwah uses to release the Ruach HaKodesh, but you don't have to do that with everybody. It's not that way with everybody. Right? But it's what we do. Right? And only people laying hands on people should be people with the Ruach HaKodesh. If they got the Ruach HaKodesh, you should be laying hands on nobody. All you gonna do is receive somebody else's devil or get them your devil. Transferring devils. Listen. Of the resurrection of the dead. Listen. The resurrection of the dead is a fact. Yahuwah is going to raise those who have received the witness, right? Now listen, Yahusha went to Sheol. He was in the grave for 3 days, right? For us, a year is as a day is 1,000 years to you, or you is 1,000 years as a day is as 1,000 years, right? Right? He was down in the grave for 3 years, or 3,000 years for all we know. Listen, you can't get twisted up. You got to trust the Ruach HaKodesh. Everybody that Yahuwah has promised eternal life and resurrection of the newness of life, I'm going to receive it. Well, you know what, this thing too big. People, when you don't have the Ruach HaKodesh, people just get... See, sometimes I listen to people in some of these discussions and these, this moon, that moon, the Ruach HaKodesh and this and that and this. And yeah, I understand, the moons and, I understand all that stuff is important. But listen, understand something, right? Right? If you don't have the Ruach HaKodesh, you off anyway. If you don't have the Ruach HaKodesh, you off anyway. The Ruach HaKodesh. This is going to establish you as sons of Yahuwah. Right? It's going to put his Ruach in you. It's going to show you what. I mean, I don't worry about stuff like that. I trust the Ruach HaKodesh. I really do. And Yahuwah is going to lead me and guide me into all truth. That's just what the Ruach HaKodesh does. It's assignment. It's to lead and guide us into all truth. That's what it does. Resurrection of the dead. Yeah, they're going to be raised. Yahuwah going to raise them. Yahusha going to raise them. They're going to get raised when it's time. And not until. And you ain't got no people walking around here dead. You're the walking dead. Listen. And this will I do if Yahuah permits. Yeah, if Yahuah allows me to come back over there, I'm gonna address these issues with you, right? Right? Listen. Now here's now understand this, right? For it is impossible for those who were once enlightened. What does it mean to be enlightened, right? Right. To be enlightened. The Greek for that word is
Strong's G 5461. Fortizo.
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 Fortizo. Right? To give light, to shine, to enlighten, to lighten up, to illuminate. To bring a light, to render evident, or to bring to light. To instruct, to inform, to teach, to give understanding to. Enlightenment. Right? Right? Okay, so. Right? Shaul says, no. It's impossible. What does it mean, impossible? Let's look at the word impossible. Right? Impossible.
Strong's G 102. Adunatas.
Adunatas. It's unable to be done. Right? Without strength, impotent, powerless, weakly, disabled. It's unable to be done. You can't do it. Right. It can't be done for those who have received the light of Yahusha HaMashiach, the witness to Ruach HaKodesh, and have tasted the heavenly gift. Now, what is the heavenly gift? The heavenly gift is the Ruach HaKodesh. Right? Okay, so. Right? What is he saying, Ruach? The heavenly gift.
Strong's G 2032. Epuranias.
Existing in heaven. Things that take place in heaven. Things itself are those things which are the abode of heaven. Right? Or the heavenly origin or nature. Right? He says, who were made partakers of the Ruach HaKodesh. Right? It's impossible. For those who have received the light of the Ruach HaKodesh, the witness, the power, right? Have tasted, right? That word taste is
Strong's G 1089. Ghoul.
To take, to eat, to take nourishment from, right? To have tried the flavor of. To take food from, to take it, right? Right. It's impossible. Right? It's impossible. It's impossible now. It's impossible. It's impossible. It's impossible. It's impossible, right? Right? It's impossible. For those who were once enlightened and have tasted of the heavenly gift, right? The heavenly gift, right? Yahusha said, you shall receive the gift of the Ruach HaKodesh, right? So we know what he's talking about, right? Right? Because he even goes on to say, right? He even goes on to say, the gift, and were made partakers, right? What's partakers? That's we're gonna work it out. We're working it out.
Strong's G 3353. Metachas.
Sharing in or partaking in, right? See, I have shared in. I'm sorry, I gotta adjust this because it's lying in my head and it bothers me. The sharing in, a partner with. See, I'm a partner with the Ruach HaKodesh. I'm a partner with the Ruach HaKodesh. I'm a partner with the Ruach HaKodesh. Right? Partner. Let's look at this wording. Let's look a little bit more. The etymology root. To become a partaker. To partake. Right? To become a partaker. Right? To be a partaker of the Ruach HaKodesh and have tasted, right? Twice, tasted. The good word of Elohiym, the Torah, the Basor. So, it's impossible to have received the Ruach HaKodesh, right? Let it become a part of you. And the word, the Basor of truth, the Ruach HaKodesh of truth and the Torah of truth. It's impossible. It's impossible, right? 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 And the power of the world to come. Listen. The witness of Yahusha HaMashiach establishes you in Yahuah, in Yahusha. And it puts within you a dunamos and an exousia, an explosive power of the world to come, right? Which on the continent is going to take us to a whole nother level. Hallelujah. Listen, on the continent, it's going to take us to a whole nother level because that's Yahuwah's land. Listen, there's energy on the continent. There's vibranium on the I'm just drawing parallels to the idea that they understand the power that's in the continent, right? But see, we who have received the witness of Yahusha HaMashiach, that are his people, that are established as people in his kingdom, right? We have a power of the world to come. Listen. It's impossible. Right? If they fall away to renew again unto repentance. It's impossible for once you fall away to be renewed again into repentance. It's impossible. If you receive the Ruach HaKodesh, that's what I'm telling you, man. Either you lie and said you had a Ruach HaKodesh, or you've done this. Either you lie, right? You lie and do not have the Ruach HaKodesh, or you've done this. Because once, see me, right? I die. Listen, if I stepped away from the Ruach HaKodesh completely, right? And say I went into Torah only, right? Knowing that I had the Ruach HaKodesh, knowing that I've tasted of the good word of Yahuah, look, I'm stuck. It's impossible. He says, listen. If they fall away, to renew them again until the repentance, seeing that they have crucified Hamashiach, the son of Yahuah, afresh and put him to an open shame? No. He's going to let you go. He's going to let you go and die in your sins. Because you ain't going to do Yahushua Mashiach like that. Not having received the witness of the Ruach HaKodesh. Listen. If I decided that I'm not going to do this in Yahushua no more, and I'm going to go back to Torah, or I'm going to go back to Christianity, or I'm going to go back to Islam, having received the witness of the Ruach HaKodesh, That's like turning your back on Yahuah and Yahusha. That's turning your back on Yahuah and Yahusha. There ain't nothing left for you. What else you got? Listen, man of Yah, woman of Yah. You better listen. You better listen. Listen. If they shall fall away. See, that's why Paul said you gotta be mindful, because you can't let these things slip. Hebrew. And then, you have so great a cloud of witnesses. You have witnesses that have testified to this thing. You have witnesses. He spoke to the prophets. He spoke to our fathers by the prophets. He's spoken unto us by his son, Yahushua Mashiach, at great sacrifice. A great sacrifice. A great sacrifice. Listen, right? Think of Avraham, our father. Why Yahuah loved Avraham. Right? Because Avraham was willing to offer up his own son on an altar. And Yahuah knew he was going to plunge that knife into his son. Yahuah knew it. Our Father was willing to sacrifice his son to establish a covenant with us. Avraham knew that Yahuah would raise up his son. He didn't know how. He knew Yahuah was going to do whatever he needed to do because he gave him. Avraham put his son on that altar and raised up that knife to plunge it into Isaac. And the angel said, "No, don't do it." Oh yeah, Yahuah knows. He knows. He knows. There was a ram in the thicket. You just can't do Yahuah any kind of way. Yahuah pours into you his witness. He has Yahusha in the Shamayim with the blood sprinkled on the altar. He nailed Yahusha to a cross for you to receive this witness. And you receive this witness and the Ruach HaKodesh, and then you turn away. Yahuah ain't gonna let you bring the Yahusha to an open shame again. And have tasted the good word of Elohiym. The good word of Adonai. Elohiym. Having tasted the good word of Elohiym. Right? The Torah made flesh. And the power of the world to come. The Ruach HaKodesh comes with power. The power of the world to come. Listen. You need to get yourself focused. You need to get yourself focused. For if they fall away, if they shall fall away, to renew them again unto repentance, seeing they crucify to themselves Yahusha Mashiach afresh, and put him to an open shame. For the earth which drinketh in the rain, it cometh down upon their earth, and bringeth meat and herbs for them, by whom it is dressed, receive blessings from Yahuah. But that which beareth thorns and thistles is rejected. You reject it. You're rejected. And nigh unto cursing, whose ends to be burned. You ain't gonna crucify Yahushua fresh. See, you know, the Christian church set you up for that. That's why this ain't that. That's why you can't even look at this in the same light that you looked at that. Because the Christian church makes you believe that you can sin. You know, you have the Holy Spirit. You have the Holy Spirit, right? You know, you have an advocate with the Father. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, when you pray, you know, He forgives you. Yahushua forgives you all the time. When Shaul said, listen, no. It's impossible for you to be renewed having received the word of truth in the Ruach HaKodesh of truth, and have received the demonstration of the power that comes with the Ruach HaKodesh of truth, and then renew or go back to or go away from that which you've received of Him to something else. Right? Because what you are, or what you have become now, is thorns. Oh yeah. What you are now is a briar. Right? You're briar. Right? Rejected. Nigh unto cursing. Whose end is to be burned. It's impossible for you to go back and come to Yahushua again. They used to say backslide. Oh, you know, he's backslid. He's backslide. They set us up for that. This ain't that. And that's what you get when you have people that don't have the Ruach HaKodesh teaching you your book. Under the influence of Hasatan and the beast. I know y'all ain't gonna like that. Some of y'all ain't gonna like that. I know I still got some of y'all that are Christians, that are my friends, that follow me and get mad every time I say something like that. I don't care. I really don't. Truth will make you free. And if you keep listening to what I say, you need to take heed to what I say. Because all you're doing is receiving Yahushua's witness. And that witness is designed to reveal sin, to produce righteousness, and to deliver justice. So, if you don't take heed to it, you're going to experience the justice. We're going to stop there, man of Yah, woman of Yah. I'm so glad the Shabbat is tomorrow. I'm so glad I missed my Zoom last Shabbat. But I'm on it this Shabbat. Hey, miss. Man of Yah, woman of Yah, the word of Yahuah. Hear the word of Yahuah. Hear the word of Yahuah. Listen. You better get established in the witness of Yahushua Mashiach. You better get established in the witness of Yahushua Mashiach, right? And don't think you're going to come over here and receive the witness in the Ruach HaKodesh and live any old kind of way. It ain't gonna happen. You ain't got the Ruach HaKodesh. No, you ain't got the Ruach HaKodesh. And if you tasted of the Ruach HaKodesh, right, and you getting yourself out there, guess what? There ain't nothing else left for you. You gotta watch yourself. You gotta be led by the Ruach HaKodesh. Yahuah, I pray right now for these that you have given me under the sound of my voice. I pray that they would hear the witness of Yahushua Mashiach, that they would be established in the witness of Yahushua Mashiach. They would see the Ruach HaKodesh. They would recognize the importance of the Ruach HaKodesh, the water and the blood. Yahuah, that they understand that you yourself, you Abba, and the Word, and the Ruach HaKodesh testify to this word. Yahuah, you have spoken, the word is gone forth out of your mouth, and you will not repent. Yahusha is a high priest forever, after the order of Melchizedek. He is king and priest of Salem, of Shalom. He is the scepter. He has the authority to operate in the arets. Yahusha is the king of the tribe of Yahudah. Yahuah, I pray that your people would recognize your word and your Torah of truth. Yahuah, I speak a word of healing right now in the name of Yahushua Mashiach. Those who are suffering in their bodies, I declare in the name of Yahushua Mashiach, you be healed in the name of Yahushua Mashiach. Receive it in Emunah. Receive it in Emunah. I pray for those that are oppressed of Hasatan. I command you to loose their minds in the name of Yahushua Mashiach. To loose their minds in the name of Yahushua Mashiach. By the Ruach HaKodesh, by the power that I have of the worlds to come. In the name of Yahushua HaMashiach, I plead the blood of Yahusha. Yahuah, I give you praise. Yahuah, I give you praise. I pray that no one be injured, no one come blame, that I've turned no one out the way I pray. Yahuah, I pray that the words of my mouth and meditation of my heart be acceptable in thy sight. Yahuah, my strength and my redeemer. Man of Yah, woman of Yah, that's all I have today. Listen. Tomorrow is the Shabbat. Actually, today's Shabbat. Tonight's Shabbat. But Shabbat. I pray that Yahuah grant you rest and peace and fellowship. That his word be manifested in you, come alive in you, quick in you. I pray that everything you need that Yahuah will provide in the Ruach HaKodesh. And listen, be led by the Ruach HaKodesh, right? And develop your relationship in the Ruach HaKodesh with Yahuah. You know, you got to develop this. This has got to be a developed thing. This ain't just this thing that you don't touch or you go to it when you need it. No, it's a lifestyle. Yahusha was led by the Ruach HaKodesh all the time. The goal, the objective is to be led by the Ruach HaKodesh all the time. That's the ultimate goal. That's what we strive for. That's why we fast. That's why we pray. That's why we pray in the Ruach HaKodesh with tongues. That's why we pray with our understanding. That's why we sing in the Ruach. That's why we sing with understanding. The objective is to continue to fortify and establish this relationship in Yahuah and Yahusha that's in us, cultivating it. Man of Yah, woman of Yah, with that I say of greatness and beautifully and wonderfully made. Listen. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom and Shabbat Shalom. Be blessed. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah.
Torah Garden, speaking the absolute truth. Torah Nation.